Hey guys, welcome to In the Box with Great Big Boar, episode number 2. Today is January 29th, 2011. In case any of you guys are wondering why I've been kind of quiet lately, it's because I met a girl and I'm a little bit preoccupied. I don't expect to disappear entirely, but the frequency and quality of my videos might drop off just a little bit for a few days or maybe a few weeks. Either way, I'm still here, just temporarily distracted. Before I cover the questions you guys submitted, I'd like to talk about my question number 67 to On the Box. I got a bit of dissent from a few of you guys, and I just have to tell you, I think that's really cool. You guys so often agree with me on pretty much everything that it's kind of cool, actually, that there was some disagreement on this one. Just to catch everyone up, the disagreement came about when I told Tony and Chad that it's obvious that they don't believe what they're preaching and that they're in it just for the money. The first objection is that one of you guys seems to know Tony personally, and you have observed him being just as deluded in real life as he is on the internet. And the second objection is we all hate it when superstitionists look at us and say, you guys believe that there is a God and you're just rebelling. So the idea is that it was a little bit hypocritical of me to claim that Tony and Chad and all their pals don't believe in a God. The first thing we want to do is what all good scientists do when checking out a hypothesis. We want to think about the implications. What if this hypothesis is true? What is that going to imply? And what if it's false? What is that going to imply? Superstitionists tell us that we actually do believe that their God exists. They think that someone who believes in but hates that God would do exactly what many of us do, make a whole bunch of noise and protest. On the surface that might seem okay, but I don't think that's a realistic implication. If I believed that Yahweh actually exists, it's actually omnipotent, and it actually intends to throw everyone into hell who hasn't bought its fire insurance, would I go around trying to convince people that it doesn't exist? I don't think so. I'd love to say that I'm so brave that I would stand up to Yahweh and face eternal punishment rather than lick its boots eternally. But, to tell the truth, I'd probably take the cowardly route. Being in heaven for an eternity and worshiping that monster would be a kind of torture in itself. It'd probably be less than actually burning in fire for eternity. So it would be really stupid to act like Yahweh doesn't exist if I really believed that it did. And second, I really hate it when people lie. And if I really believed it was true, why would I go around lying to everybody else? Especially, why would I put everyone else's souls on the line by lying to them about Yahweh? That just doesn't make any sense. If I actually believed what the superstitionists claim that I believe, I would probably pray to that God to make me insane or something so that I could convince myself that I love it and that I like licking its boots. I definitely would not run around acting like I don't believe in it. That would just be stupid. Based on that, I conclude that the superstitionist hypothesis that we actually do believe in Yahweh is insupportable. In order for their hypothesis to hold water, we'd have to not only be stupid, but hideously dishonest. And, I suppose I could be, but I might also be psychotic. I mean, I don't think so on any of those counts, but, I could be totally wrong. Let's consider my hypothesis that Tony, Chad, Ray, and all those pals of theirs really believe all this nonsense that they put out there. First, let's think about what we'd expect to see if my hypothesis is false. That is, they really believe that Yahweh exists, and they really believe that it cares deeply about the truth. Of course, we have to forget about the lying spirit from 1 Kings chapter 22, verse 23, and the powerful delusions from 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 11. But that's pretty easy to do, given that Yahwists always do that anyway. So we take a look at the Gospel of Luke chapter 12, verse 47, where Jesus tells us, that servant who knows his master's will and does not get ready or does not do what his master wants will be beaten with many blows. And in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 24, verses 45 through 51, Jesus goes even further, saying that Yahweh will cut such people to pieces and assign them a place with the hypocrites, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Now, if Tony and Chad and friends actually believed this, would they go around using deliberate deception and lies to spread the gospel? I have a really hard time believing that they would. It just doesn't make any sense. What might we expect to see if my hypothesis is true? In other words, that they really don't believe in any of it. We might hope to see them behaving like most atheists, which would be behaving like decent people and trying to make the world a better place, or at least trying to avoid making it a worse place. But obviously not all atheists are decent, and many atheists are just fine with duping people for their own personal gain. And Tony and Chad might even be telling themselves somehow that they're doing a good thing, but it's easy very easy to see how their judgment could be clouded by the piles of money that flow into their organizations. Now, let's consider the hypocrisy issue. I hate it when they tell me that I believe in their God, but I have no problem telling them that they don't believe. Is this really hypocrisy? Well, it's going to depend on why I hate their claim and on what grounds I base my claim. I hate their claim because I'm offended when people think they know better than I do what's going on in my own mind, and I don't like being called a liar. Now, if they were to make their claim and then support it with plausible arguments concerning my behavior, I'd have to listen. I might be irritated because, I don't like being told I'm wrong any more than anyone else. I'd have to listen if they had plausible arguments. But the only arguments they ever give are, we make a lot of noise about their God, which is stupid because the reason we make all the noise is because they're ruining the world, not because we think their God exists. And the second reason is that the Bible tells them that we actually do believe in their God, and these points don't constitute plausible support. My claim that they don't actually believe is based on observing their behavior. One, they lie all the time. And then two, they say that their God cares about truth. I cannot make sense out of that, except to think that there's something in there, at least one thing in there that they don't believe. And it seems really likely to me that if there's one thing that they don't believe, then they probably don't believe any of it. I really can't think of any other explanation. But if you guys have other possible explanations, I'd really love to hear them. I mean, this is an interesting conversation. I'm not looking to have a brawl or try to prove my point. I want to hear what you guys have to say about it. So now I want to challenge you guys just a little bit. And don't give me any breaks. If I'm way off base, I'm counting on you guys to keep me in line. I've presented 67 videos to Tony and Chad, and that's, well over 70 questions total, maybe even 80. Now let's think about some of the things that I've said to them in those 80-ish questions. In question number 10, I came right out and said that Ray Comfort knows that Crocoduck and Dead Dog are straw man arguments, and I went on to say that William Lane Craig and William Dembski are liars. In question number 13, I pointed out that the so-called miracles performed by Jesus could have been done by anybody with some really cool technology, which means that Jesus deliberately deceived billions of people. In other words, he's a big fat liar. And then finally, in question number 64, come on, I came up with all these religions, Creatheism, Conarctheism, Roman Catholicism, and all those other Crocobuckists and all those. My challenge to you guys is this. You got to tell me how it is that scores of questions go by and nobody says a word until I come right out and say, I think you guys don't believe what you're preaching. It all sounds the same to me, so I'd love to hear back from you guys on that. I think it'd be an interesting conversation. So let's move on to the questions. First, someone wanted to know why the related videos associated with my work are often anime and Marvel Comics. I have no freaking clue. If anybody out there has a guess, hey, I'll give a lame-ass prize to the most plausible answer, or if there's, in the absence of plausibility, I'll give a lame-ass prize for the funniest or the stupidest, maybe. Radical Bacon, once again, gets the first question because she offered to be my fangirl, and that's awesome. That's really cool. Yes, you can be my fangirl. Thank you very much. You're my first, as I said, so please be gentle. You asked whether there's a Mrs. Big Bore, and actually, no, there's not, but I've been building one in the basement for a few months. Unfortunately, the app that causes it to want to be a fangirl is really expensive, and so I had to settle for the app that causes it to refrain from kicking me in the teeth daily. Since I met this girl, maybe I can stop construction on Mrs. Big Bore in the basement at least for a little while. Victim 8 Journey 8, she gets the second answer because she says she's literally a hot woman by virtue of having hot flashes. And, in a male-dominated forum, beggars can't be choosers. She says, how would you rate the following religions according to how much damage they do to the human race, from worst to least? Catholicism, Islam, Methodist, Pentecostal, Buddhist, Jainist, Satanist, and are there degrees of dreadfulness when you think of religion and its impact on the world? So I can't really claim to know a lot about any of these religions, so don't quote me on any of this, and yeah, just ignore me for like the next 45 seconds or so. And I think Catholicism is indeed the worst as far as the current effects on the world, primarily because the Pope is out there promoting lies about condoms that has led to untold suffering and death, and is still continuing to do so. I don't see really much difference between Islam and any of the various forms of Christianity. I mean, right now Christianity is kind of tame, but that's just kind of a fluke. It's been held in check by Western secular values, and particularly the U.S. Constitution and the Establishment Clause. If we weren't holding Christianity in tight check, it would be just as bad as Islam, and it'd be far, far worse than it is now, and probably Islam and Christians would be at religious war right now, or requiring us all to convert at gunpoint. I really know nothing about Jainism except hearsay, and it's very little hearsay, even at that. If it's true that they're fanatically opposed to causing death, I'm happy that their religion seems to promote peace, but I also think it's pretty unreasonable, and it's based on an unsound, conceited, I guess, human-oriented way of thinking. Our bodies cause massive death all the time when we fight off infection. I mean, there's not a damn thing we can do about it except kill ourselves. We kill plants all the time, either in eating them or in discarding them when they no longer produce food for us. So I can't see really any grounds for drawing a line between mosquitoes and viruses. I'm going to try not to kill a mosquito, but I don't care about viruses. It just doesn't make any sense. I think I'll wrap it up there. That's In the Box number 2. Thanks for watching.